Ebony Carter had never felt so humiliated in her life. Standing on the pristine white tiles of the luxurious Beverly Hills showroom, she could almost taste the contempt in the air. Snide whispers followed her every step. The salespeople seemed determined to pretend she didn't exist until one of them told her outright to leave. Little did they know that Ebony wasn't just some nobody. She was a woman of substance, of class, and she was there for a reason far more important than they could ever guess. By tomorrow morning, they'd be begging her to come back. Because come sunrise, the world would see exactly who Ebony Carter truly was. Ebony Carter grew up in a modest bungalow on the outskirts of Compton, California. She still remembered long evenings with her father, Thomas T.J. Jones, who worked 2 jobs, one at a local gas station, the other as a night guard in a run-down manufacturing plant, just to keep food on the table. Ebony's mother had passed away when she was young, so it was just her and her father against the world. He instilled in her the values of honesty, self-respect, and hard work. He also taught her that no matter where she went, there would be people who didn't want to see her succeed, especially because of the color of her skin. But Ebony wore her pride just as proudly as she wore her name. She believed in forging her own path no matter the obstacles. As Ebony grew into her teenage years, she excelled in school, especially in mathematics and creative writing. She earned a partial scholarship to UCLA, where she studied business administration. At the age of 20, Ebony started an online jewelry store out of her dorm room. The store never truly took off, but it gave her a taste of entrepreneurship and taught her valuable lessons about resilience and determination. It was during her final year at UCLA that she met Maxwell Carter, a reserved but brilliant young man from Atlanta who was studying engineering. Maxwell was different from anyone Ebony had ever encountered. He exuded a quiet confidence, and there was kindness in his eyes that warmed Ebony's heart. They bonded over late-night brainstorming sessions in the university library, discussing everything from new technologies to philanthropic dreams. Love blossomed among the dusty tat books and the hum of the campus air conditioning. After graduation, Maxwell went on to help found a tech startup that specialized in designing innovative software for cybersecurity. The company took off, and it wasn't long before Maxwell's invention garnered the attention of high-profile investors from Silicon Valley. Within 5 years, the company went public, making Maxwell Carter a billionaire almost overnight. Even then, Ebony and Maxwell lived fairly modestly, with Ebony focused on launching her own charitable foundation for underprivileged youth, while Maxwell continued running his tech empire. But as the couple approached their 10th wedding anniversary, Ebony decided it was time for a grand gesture, a gift worthy of the man who had shown her unconditional love and support through everything. Maxwell might have had more money than they'd ever know how to spend, but Ebony wanted to surprise him with something special and personal. She was determined to purchase a brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost, fully customized, and have it delivered with a personal flourish. No matter how wealthy or influential Ebony had become alongside her husband, she'd never lost that deep-seated humility she learned as a girl in Compton. She chose not to flaunt her status, rarely wearing anything more ostentatious than a simple pearl necklace or a well-tailored dress when making business deals. The car dealership she'd picked, a luxury showroom in Beverly Hills, seemed like the perfect place to find the exact Rolls-Royce she wanted for Maxwell. Dressed in a simple black blazer over a crisp white blouse and dark jeans, Ebony walked into the dealership with a bright smile. She was prepared for a bit of skepticism, but she carried with her the confidence born of self-made success. She expected politeness, if not warmth. What she did not expect was outright dismissal. From the moment Ebony stepped onto the marble floors of the showroom, she could sense an unwelcome chill. The place was immaculate, shiny floors, reflecting the overhead chandeliers, pristine vehicles arranged like works of art on display, each polished to gleaming perfection. As Ebony passed a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom, she paused, admiring the grandeur of its design. She could picture Maxwell behind the wheel, his eyes lighting up at the hum of the powerful engine. A wave of excitement coursed through her. But that moment was short-lived. A couple of sales associates stood behind a marble-topped desk near the entrance, neither of them offering so much as a welcoming nod. One was a thin man in a crisp navy suit, his hair slicked back with meticulous precision. The other was a tall woman with sharp cheekbones, her blonde hair twisted into a tight chignon and a clipboard clutched in her arms like a shield. They glanced at Ebony, looked at each other, and frowned as if silently questioning why she was there. Ebony approached them with a smile. "Good afternoon," she said politely. "I'm interested in viewing your Rolls-Royce selection." The man exchanged another glance with his colleague before responding, "Are you sure?" His question dripped with condescension. "They're quite expensive." Ebony felt a tight knot form in her stomach, but she maintained her composure. "I'm very much aware of that," she answered evenly, trying not to let his tone rattle her. "I'd like to see the available models and speak to someone about customizing one." The woman with the clipboard cleared her throat. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, eyes darting to Ebony's casual attire as though searching for a reason to dismiss her. "I don't actually," Ebony replied. "I was in the area and decided to stop by. However, I'd be happy to schedule something if that's required." The man shook his head. "We typically work by appointment for custom orders." He hesitated, scanning Ebony's outfit once more. "And well, it might be best if we, show you something more in your budget." Ebony's pulse raced. She wasn't new to subtle or not so subtle racism or classist assumptions. But she also knew that losing her cool wouldn't help. "I'm fairly certain I know what my budget is," she said, calmly, meeting his gaze. "I'm here for a Rolls-Royce, not something else." He stared back, skepticism etched across his face, but before he could respond, the tall woman cut in. "It's a busy day. We have high-priority clients scheduled." Her tone was dismissive. "If you'd like, you can leave your information, and we'll call you about an appointment if anything opens up." Ebony felt heat rise to her cheeks. She was used to brushing off rude assumptions, but the way these two treated her, as if she had wandered in from the street with no business being there, struck a nerve. She exhaled sharply, remembering her father's advice to keep a level head. She reminded herself she was here for Maxwell. She had an important mission, and she wouldn't let a pair of haughty employees derail her. "Fine," Ebony said with forced politeness. "I'll speak to a manager instead. Perhaps they can help." The man gave a pointed look, then leaned in. "The manager is busy with an important client," he whispered, like it was some big secret. "And Mom, I'm sorry, but if you're here without an appointment, we really can't help you. Maybe there's another dealership that sells pre-owned vehicles more suitable to your needs." Every syllable dripped with prejudice. Ebony blinked, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She resisted the urge to toss her business card on the desk and watch their jaws drop when they realized exactly who she was. Instead, she looked at them both calmly. "I asked for the manager," she repeated. "Are you refusing to let me speak with them?" Moments later, a stocky middle-aged man in a tailored suit stormed out of a glass-walled office. Ebony glimpsed a well-dressed couple inside, seated in plush chairs, flipping through a brochure. The manager presumably walked straight up to Ebony, wearing a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Yes, "How can I help you?" he asked briskly, glancing at the associates. They looked simultaneously relieved and smug, as though expecting him to dismiss Ebony right away. Ebony squared her shoulders. "I'm interested in purchasing a Rolls-Royce Ghost," she said. "I'd like to discuss customization options and place a deposit if I find what I'm looking for." The manager's smile faltered for a split second before reappearing cooler this time. "Unfortunately, we're tied up with a high-profile client," he said in a practiced, apologetic tone. "Could you come back with an appointment? Or perhaps we can direct you to a more accessible model. These vehicles start in the mid-six figures." Ebony nodded, feigning understanding she didn't feel. "Yes, I'm well aware of the price range. I'm prepared to pay in full once we finalize the details. If you have brochures or a test vehicle, I'd like to—" He cut her off. "We don't have any test vehicles available right now," he lied smoothly. Ebony could see 2 test vehicles parked just behind the glass partition. "I'll be honest with you, clients who come to buy these cars are usually, well, pre-approved or recommended by previous customers. We don't typically handle walk-ins for custom orders." Ebony fought the urge to laugh at how obvious his discrimination was. She took out her phone, ready to show him her bank statement, or at the very least, the multi-million-dollar line of credit she had at her disposal. But something stopped her. It was her pride, the part of her that refused to grovel for anyone's approval. She put her phone away. "Understood. May I leave my contact information?" she asked, her tone calm but laced with quiet steel. "I'd appreciate it if you'd follow up." The manager arched an eyebrow. "Yes, if you insist," he said. "But I can't guarantee anything." One of the associates slid a piece of paper across the counter with an almost mocking flourish. Ebony wrote down her name, phone number, and email address. Just before she finished, however, the manager's radio crackled to life with a message about another important appointment arriving soon. "Look," he said, voice flat. "If you're done here, my employees can show you out. We have other business to attend to." The condescension in his voice snapped something inside Ebony. She paused, forcing a gracious smile. "Actually," she said, "thank you for your time. You've been more helpful than you know." She handed him the paper with her contact details, but he didn't take it. Instead, he gave a short, derisive laugh. "All right, Mom," he said loudly, using that same patronizing tone. "We'll be in touch if anything opens up. But to be frank, we rarely have walk-ins who can afford these cars." He then nodded to the tall female associate. "Please escort her out." The woman's lips curled in a smirk as she approached Ebony. "This way, please." Hot anger and humiliation flared in Ebony's chest, but she squared her shoulders once more. She'd been kicked out of nicer places by less significant people in her lifetime. As she turned to leave, Ebony could feel eyes on her other potential buyers, a few staff members, and that well-dressed couple who had glimpsed the scene from the manager's office. She forced her chin up and refused to let them see her crumble. Out in the parking lot, Ebony paused to take a breath. She had come here to do something special to honor her husband and the journey they'd shared. Instead, she'd been turned away belittled and made to feel like a trespasser. But Ebony wasn't about to give up. In her mind, she already pictured Maxwell's face when she presented him with the ultimate anniversary surprise. One day, and it would be soon, she'd walk into the world's biggest Rolls-Royce dealership. Or maybe she'd find a more exclusive route, and she would buy the best they had to offer. For now, though, Ebony turned, gazing back at the sleek glass walls of the dealership. She spotted the manager inside, shaking hands with someone who looked like a wealthy foreign businessman. The manager's smile was big, polite, a striking contrast to his manner toward her. Ebony made a silent promise. These people would remember the day they kicked her out. And tomorrow, everything would change. That evening, Ebony returned home to the modern hillside mansion she shared with Maxwell. The house was perched in the Hollywood Hills with a sweeping view of the city lights. She found Maxwell in the living room, sprawled comfortably on the sofa with a stack of research papers on quantum encryption, a new project that had captured his attention. Tall, lean and handsome, in a scholarly sort of way, Maxwell radiated quiet assurance. Ebony's heart warmed at the sight of him. He looked up from his papers. "Hey, sweetheart," he greeted, setting them aside. His playful grin faded as he saw the tension in Ebony's posture. "You look upset. Everything okay?" Ebony forced a small smile and sat down next to him. "I'm fine," she insisted, though her tone betrayed her. "Just had a bit of a run-in at a dealership." Maxwell's eyebrows shot up. "A dealership? Were you thinking of buying a car?" He looked genuinely intrigued. "Why didn't you tell me I could have helped?" Ebony exhaled, leaning her head on his shoulder. She wanted to keep the Rolls-Royce purchase a secret. She still harbored hopes of surprising him. So instead, she offered a half-truth. "I was just exploring options. Saw a deal on something that might be interesting." She paused. But the staff was rude. They basically shoved me out the door. Maxwell's expression darkened. "They what?" Ebony patted his arm as though trying to calm him. "It's no big deal," she said quietly, though the day's events still stung. "I guess I just wasn't their idea of a worthy customer." The muscle in Maxwell's jaw tightened. He had always been protective of Ebony, hating the discrimination and adversity she sometimes faced. "That's absurd," he muttered. "Did they even know who you are, who we are?" She shook her head. "I didn't tell them, and I'm not going to. It's not worth it." Ebony let out a humorless laugh. "It's more satisfying to let them wallow in their ignorance. Besides, you know me, I'd rather show people by my actions rather than wave around our net worth." Maxwell nodded. That was one of the things he loved most about Ebony. She never flaunted her wealth or connections. She believed in letting her work speak for itself. "I understand," he said softly. "But it still makes me angry. If it matters to you, I'd be happy to have my legal team or my connections in the auto industry step in and do something." Ebony considered for a moment. Part of her wanted to see the manager's face when he discovered just how big a mistake he'd made. But Ebony had a plan forming in her mind, a plan that would let her keep the element of surprise both for Maxwell and for the dealership that had slighted her. "No," she said, finally determination glinting in her eyes. "I appreciate it, but I have another idea." Maxwell studied her face, smiling faintly. He recognized that gleam in Ebony's eyes, the one that told him she was about to orchestrate something spectacular. "All right," he said, brushing a tender kiss across her forehead. "I'll trust you on this. Let me know if you need anything." Ebony snuggled closer, letting her husband's reassuring presence soothe her frayed nerves. Tomorrow was a new day, and Ebony intended to prove that the only thing more powerful than money was dignity, and the knowledge that prejudice would always be overshadowed by character. She closed her eyes, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe she wouldn't even return to that same dealership. She could easily go somewhere else and buy the Rolls-Royce. But Ebony had a sense of poetic justice brewing in her heart. The next time she stepped into that building, it wouldn't be as a prospective buyer. She'd arrive as the unstoppable Ebony Carter, and they'd never see it coming. The next morning, Ebony woke early, her mind buzzing with plans. She'd barely slept, her dreams interrupted by vivid images of rolling luxury cars and sneering faces. But now, a sense of purpose propelled her out of bed. After a quiet breakfast, Maxwell was already off to an early meeting. Ebony settled into her home office, which was filled with art prints from local black artists and a single elegant statue of an African queen that her father had gifted her. She lit a lavender-scented candle, opened her laptop, and began the process of turning her frustration into action. First, she reached out to a longtime friend, Darius Williams, an influencer and car enthusiast who ran a popular YouTube channel reviewing luxury vehicles. Darius had over 5 million subscribers and was known for championing diversity within the automotive world. Ebony explained her predicament, leaving out certain details about the surprise she was planning for Maxwell, and Darius was immediately on board with helping her find a top-tier Rolls-Royce dealer who would treat her with respect. Even more, he offered to bring his camera crew along to document Ebony's experience of purchasing the Rolls. Normally, Ebony wasn't one for the spotlight, but this time she recognized a potential for broader change. "That's exactly why I want to do it," she told Darius on the phone. "Not to rub it in anyone's face, but to show people that we belong in these spaces. Our money is just as green as anyone else's, and if they won't treat one of us right, they'll lose out on a lot of potential customers forever." Darius agreed. "I've heard stories like this from a bunch of my viewers. It's frustrating. Let's expose it, show everyone how it should be done. Then if that Beverly Hills dealership sees it and feels any remorse, maybe they'll change their ways." After finalizing the plan with Darius, Ebony hung up and made another call, this time to a discreet contact at Rolls-Royce's corporate offices in California. She'd known a junior executive there, a woman named Carmen James from a charity fundraiser Ebony had hosted years ago. Carmen was delighted to hear from Ebony and more than happy to arrange a private viewing at Rolls-Royce's official West Coast headquarters in Goodwood style. Ebony felt a surge of relief. She wouldn't have to set foot in that Beverly Hills showroom again, at least not on their terms. But Ebony didn't stop there. She also made a call to her father, TJ, updating him on her plan. She still found comfort in his calm, steady voice. He listened to her with fatherly concern, advising her to keep a level head. "Proud of you, baby girl," TJ said. "You always did stand up for yourself in that quiet but fierce way. Don't let them walk all over you. Show them what you're made of." Ebony felt her spirits lift. "I love you, Daddy," she murmured, "and thanks for teaching me everything I needed to know about perseverance." After a series of calls and emails, Ebony set up an appointment for the following afternoon at the official Rolls-Royce corporate showroom. Darius and his team would accompany her, capturing the moment she finalized the specifications for Maxwell's new Ghost model. Once they wrapped up, Ebony planned a celebratory lunch at a nearby upscale restaurant. Maxwell would still have no idea what she was up to. She wanted the reveal to be perfect. Her heart pounded at the prospect of surprising the love of her life with the car of his dreams. Yet something nagged at her, the sting of how she had been treated the day before. Every time she recalled that manager's smug face, Ebony bristled. She felt torn between letting it go and teaching him a lesson. But Ebony was a woman of dignity. She believed that the best lesson would be the silent kind, the one that would show him that his prejudice had caused him to lose an important sale. By midday, Ebony had everything arranged. She closed her laptop, took a deep breath, and let her gaze drift out of the office window. The Los Angeles skyline sparkled under the golden sun, a symbol of limitless possibilities for those with ambition and grit. Ebony vowed not to let that negativity define her. She would create her own narrative, one of triumph, class, and generosity. She rose, walked to the living room, and gazed at the family photos on the mantel, her and Maxwell at their wedding, her father beaming proudly, and her mother's photo framed in silver. In that moment, Ebony felt a surge of gratitude. She whispered a silent promise to honor the upbringing her parents had given her, to carry her successes with humility and grace. Tomorrow she'd select the perfect Rolls-Royce, and soon after, Beverly Hills would get the shock of a lifetime when they realized exactly who they had turned away. The following day arrived warm and bright, an auspicious backdrop for Ebony's plan. Dressed in a stylish yet understated ensemble black wide-leg trousers, a crisp white silk blouse, and minimal gold jewelry, she made her way to the Rolls-Royce corporate showroom. The building itself was a testament to luxury, a mix of sleek modern architecture and classic automotive heritage. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a gallery of gleaming cars, each one more breathtaking than the last. Darius and his small camera crew were already waiting by the entrance. He was a tall man with a friendly, infectious energy that put Ebony at ease. As soon as he saw Ebony step out of her car, a modest, older luxury sedan she'd bought years ago, he greeted her with a broad smile and a warm hug. "You ready for this?" he asked, excitement dancing in his eyes. Ebony nodded, heart pounding. "Absolutely. Let's do it." A concierge welcomed them into the showroom. Inside, Carmen James, a poised, elegant woman in a tailored burgundy suit, met Ebony with a welcoming grin. "Ebony, it's been ages. I'm so glad you reached out," she said, leading Ebony and Darius into a private lounge area. Soft music played overhead, and plush white couches offered a luxurious place to sit. A small table held champagne flutes and a bottle on ice. "Believe it or not, I don't usually do all this," Carmen confessed with a laugh. "But I made an exception. I remember how you supported my sister's education fund a few years back. This is just my little way of saying thank you." Ebony smiled, touched by the gesture. "I appreciate it, Carmen. Really." Darius and his crew set up their cameras, discreetly capturing the moment without intruding. Carmen then directed everyone to a large digital screen where Ebony could customize every detail of the Rolls-Royce Ghost she wanted. From the exterior paint color, Ebony selected a deep midnight blue that shimmered subtly in the light to the interior upholstery and hand-stitched details. Ebony went through the options with a focused intensity. She imagined Maxwell's reaction at each choice, carefully selecting features she knew would resonate with him like a small, starry headliner, reminiscent of a galaxy scene, and seats embroidered with subtle patterns inspired by their shared love of astronomy. Once the final specs were locked in, Carmen handed Ebony a glossy brochure with the final design. "I believe this is going to be one of the most stunning ghosts we've produced," she said sincerely. "Your husband is a lucky man." Ebony felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but blinked them away. "Thank you," she managed softly, running a hand over the brochure's cover. "You have no idea what this means to me." With the design confirmed, Ebony settled the deposit. It was a sizable sum, enough to make most people's heads spin. But Ebony had saved for this moment for years, setting aside part of her earnings. She also had Maxwell's net worth to draw on. But Ebony felt proud that this was primarily her gift, funded by her own success. The official paperwork was signed, sealed, and delivered. After the formalities, Carmen led Ebony and Darius into the main showroom, where a brand-new Rolls-Royce Phantom, a sister model to the Ghost Ebony had just ordered, was on display. Darius's camera crew captured Ebony's awe as she ran her hands along the smooth exterior. She could practically envision Maxwell standing beside her, a mix of shock and delight on his face. The entire experience felt surreal, a testament to how far Ebony had come from her humble beginnings. "Expect the delivery in a couple of weeks," Carmen said. "Custom orders take time, but we'll expedite what we can. Of course, if you have any special requests in the meantime, let me know." Ebony felt a wave of gratitude. She turned to the camera and addressed Darius's audience. "This is how it should be done," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "The people here at Rolls-Royce Corporate treated me with nothing but respect from the moment I walked in. That's how every customer should feel, no matter who they are or where they come from." Darius gave a thumbs up behind the camera. The moment was electric. Ebony realized in some small way this was bigger than just buying a car. It was about representation, about claiming spaces where people like her were often overlooked or dismissed. It was about telling a story that would resonate with anyone who had ever been underestimated. With her purchase complete, Ebony thanked Carmen profusely, then slipped outside with Darius and the crew. They decided to celebrate at a nearby rooftop restaurant. Over crisp salads and sparkling water, they chatted about the potential impact of the YouTube video they'd just filmed. Darius planned to edit it into a concise 15-minute segment, showcasing Ebony's journey and highlighting the contrast between the negative experience at the Beverly Hills dealership and the warm reception at Rolls-Royce Corporate. As the sun reached its zenith, Ebony felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. One part of her mission was complete. The next step would be unveiling the Rolls-Royce Ghost to Maxwell. And after that, Ebony had some additional ideas on how to handle the dealership that had mistreated her. She didn't crave revenge exactly, but she wanted to ensure they understood the consequences of their prejudice. The day was coming when she would watch them eat their words, and Ebony planned to do it with all the grace and poise her father had taught her. The next week passed in a blur of activity. Between finalizing details for the Rolls-Royce, working on her charitable foundation's upcoming gala, and keeping everything hidden from Maxwell, Ebony was busier than ever. Yet she thrived in the organized chaos. Each day, she felt more certain that this grand surprise was worth every ounce of energy. In the midst of her preparations, Ebony received an unexpected call from Carmen at Rolls-Royce. "Hey, Ebony," she said, an edge of excitement in her voice. "We've just received word that your Ghost might be ready for delivery sooner than anticipated. We had some cancellations in the production schedule, and we bumped you up." Ebony's eyes widened. "Really? That's incredible. How soon?" "Potentially a few more days, maybe a week at most," Carmen replied. "We're working overtime to get it just right. If you'd prefer, we could deliver it straight to your residence. Or you can pick it up from the corporate showroom for a grand reveal, whichever you like." Ebony didn't have to think long. "I'd love to arrange a special delivery," she said, remembering how she'd once envisioned a triumphant return to the Beverly Hills dealership. Now the idea called to her even more. A scenario began unfolding in her mind. The manager who'd dismissed her and the staff who'd escorted her out, she wanted them to see. She wanted them to realize the depth of their mistake. But Ebony also wanted to keep it classy, so she outlined a simple plan with Carmen. Have the brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost delivered directly to the Beverly Hills dealership under Ebony's name. If everything went smoothly, Ebony would arrive to claim it and watch their reactions in real time. Carmen agreed to coordinate. "I'll arrange for a Rolls-Royce branded delivery truck and a representative to meet you there," she said. "Just give me the date and time." After the call, Ebony felt an exhilarating mix of nerves and anticipation. It was a bit theatrical, perhaps even petty, but Ebony believed it would send a powerful message. She recalled the humiliating moment she'd been escorted out, the looks of disdain and skepticism from the sales associates and that manager. Well, Ebony wasn't just a walk-in customer, with no means. She was Ebony Carter, a successful entrepreneur, philanthropist, and wife to a billionaire. For too long, such establishments had played gatekeeper, deciding who was worthy of their service. It was time for them to reckon with the reality that times had changed. The day before the scheduled delivery, Ebony confided in Darius about her plan. He erupted into laughter and clapped his hands. "This is going to go viral," he declared. "I'm telling you, Ebony people need to see this." Ebony grinned but warned him, "I don't want to embarrass them just for the sake of it. I just want them to learn. Maybe next time they'll treat someone who looks like me with respect from the start." Darius promised to keep the tone tasteful. He'd have a small crew stationed discreetly near the dealership. They would capture the Rolls-Royce truck pulling up Ebony, stepping out the manager's reaction, and Ebony's gracious acceptance of her car. Ebony herself planned to say very little, letting the moment speak for itself. She felt a flutter in her chest as she imagined how it would all play out. That evening, Ebony sat with Maxwell over dinner. He mentioned he had to take a last-minute trip to New York for a meeting with potential investors for a new philanthropic tech initiative. Ebony encouraged him to go, relieved it would keep him away until after the big reveal. The final surprise for Maxwell would have to wait until he returned. Little did he know that Ebony's plan would go down in history as one of their relationship's most memorable milestones. Before bed, Ebony lay awake, her mind buzzing with excitement. She couldn't wait to see the faces of those who had dismissed her when they realized she was the proud new owner of a Rolls-Royce Ghost. And as she drifted off, she thought of her father's unwavering belief in her, her mother's memory, and the love she shared with Maxwell. Tomorrow would be a day of karma. Yes, but also a day of hope, showing that with perseverance and faith in oneself, even a humble girl from Compton could walk into the world of luxury and claim her place with dignity and grace. On the appointed morning, the sun rose bright and scorching over Beverly Hills, casting sharp shadows across the palm-lined streets. Ebony woke up early, her heart pounding with excitement and a tinge of anxiety. She dressed in a sleek, knee-length black dress and a pair of understated heels, an outfit that was elegant yet not overly showy. Today she didn't want to look like she was flaunting wealth. She wanted to represent the woman she'd always been, poised, confident, and proud of her roots. Darius texted her around 8 a.m. "We're all set. The truck is on its way." Ebony took a deep breath, grabbed a light blazer, and headed to her car. The drive to the Beverly Hills dealership felt surreal. Thoughts raced through her mind. How would the staff react? Would the manager even remember her? Of course he would. Ebony thought, recalling how dismissive he had been just a week ago. As Ebony arrived, she parked a short distance away, where Darius and his small camera crew were discreetly positioned. The plan was for Ebony to walk in, stand by, as the truck unloaded her new Ghost, and calmly accept the keys. The entire spectacle would be recorded, but Ebony didn't want any direct confrontation, unless necessary. She wanted the moment itself to carry the power of retribution. At precisely 9 a.m., a glossy silver Rolls-Royce branded delivery truck turned onto the street. Even from a distance, Ebony could see the dealership's employees noticing. A few stepped outside, looking curiously at the imposing vehicle. One of them was the same tall, blonde associate who had snubbed Ebony. When the truck came to a stop right in front of the dealership, onlookers began to gather. Ebony approached slowly. She could see the manager standing in the showroom doorway, talking hurriedly into his phone. He looked flustered, unsure why a Rolls-Royce delivery truck was pulling up to his dealership unannounced. Then, with deliberate calm, Ebony stepped up onto the sidewalk. She watched as two men in crisp uniforms hopped down from the truck and walked to the back, preparing to lower the ramp. "Excuse me, can I help you?" asked the blonde associate, her eyes darting nervously between Ebony and the truck. She clearly remembered Ebony, but pretended not to. "Actually," Ebony said quietly, "I'm here to receive my car." The associate frowned. "Your car?" Before Ebony could respond, the manager emerged. His eyes widened when he saw Ebony. He recognized her instantly, a hint of panic flashing across his features. For a moment he looked like he was about to say something, perhaps to dismiss her again. But the men from Rolls-Royce swung open the truck doors, revealing the gleaming midnight blue Ghost. The manager's jaw literally dropped. "Delivery for Mrs. Ebony Carter," announced one of the uniformed men. "Brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost custom order. Could you direct us to the rightful owner?" Ebony lifted her hand slightly. "That would be me." The manager's eyes flicked between Ebony and the Ghost, his expression a mixture of disbelief and confusion. The blonde associate stood rooted to the spot, looking like she'd swallowed something sour. A hush fell over the small crowd of onlookers as the Ghost was carefully backed out of the truck, the sun catching its chrome details. It was a masterpiece with Ebony's chosen finishes glinting in the daylight. Carmen had arranged for a Rolls-Royce representative to hand over the keys in style. A smartly dressed woman stepped forward, presenting Ebony with a polished box containing the key. A small Rolls-Royce emblem was engraved on the box. "Mrs. Carter, on behalf of Rolls-Royce Motor Cars, it is our great pleasure to deliver your brand new Ghost," the representative said formally. "May it bring you many miles of luxurious driving." Ebony smiled graciously, taking the box in her hands. Her heart soared with satisfaction. She turned to the manager, who was still gaping at her. "Thank you," she said quietly, addressing the representative. Then, fixing the manager with a polite but firm gaze, she added, "I came here a few days ago, hoping to discuss purchasing a Rolls-Royce. I was told it wasn't possible, that I didn't belong. I suppose I found another way." The manager's face turned red. He stuttered for a moment, looking around for support. The blonde associate was nowhere to be found. She had quietly slipped inside. A group of customers watched the scene unfold with interest, some filming on their phones. Darius's crew, stationed across the street, captured every second. Ebony offered the manager a business card from her purse. "Perhaps in the future you'll consider treating all potential customers with courtesy, regardless of their appearance." Her tone wasn't vengeful, it was calm, measured. "Good day." With that, Ebony turned, stepped to her new Ghost, and slid behind the wheel. The cabin smelled of premium leather. She ran her hand over the steering wheel, her heart pounding with triumph. The manager stood speechless as Ebony started the engine. A low purr filled the air, and the crowd murmured in awe. Then, with perfect composure, Ebony guided the Ghost away from the dealership lot, leaving the manager and his staff reeling. The Rolls-Royce truck followed behind, and Darius's cameras captured the final shot of Ebony driving off into the sunlit Beverly Hills street. It was without a doubt a moment that would live forever in internet lore. Ebony's hands trembled slightly on the wheel, but she felt more alive than ever. As she drove, she thought of her father, her mother, and Maxwell. She pictured Maxwell's reaction when he returned from New York and found this incredible car waiting. But for now, Ebony reveled in the sweet taste of justice. Not revenge justice, and she knew that the seeds of change might have just been planted in that dealership's heart. Ebony spent the rest of the day alternating between exhilaration and disbelief. Once she'd parked the new Rolls-Royce safely in a private garage, lest Maxwell stumble upon it, she joined Darius to review the footage they'd captured at the dealership. It was everything they'd hoped for: the stunned looks on the staff's faces, the dramatic reveal of the ghost, and Ebony's calm poise throughout. "This is going to blow up," Darius said, as he clicked through various angles. "I'll edit it together tastefully, but I'm telling you, Ebony, people are going to be inspired by what you did today." Ebony watched a replay of the moment she'd accepted the keys. Despite her cool exterior, she could see the subtle tremor in her hand. It felt surreal, like watching someone else. "I just hope it sends a message," she said. "It's not about humiliating them. It's about showing people that no one has the right to judge someone else's worthiness." Over the next couple of days, Ebony went about her routine, managing her foundation's affairs, taking meetings, and waiting for Maxwell to return. She held her breath, hoping that he wouldn't suddenly pop up at the private garage and ruin the surprise. Meanwhile, Darius finalized the video. On the third day after the dramatic delivery, he posted it to his YouTube channel. Within hours, the video went viral. Ebony's phone buzzed non-stop as friends, acquaintances, and even strangers flooded her social media with messages of support. The video's title, "Black Woman Kicked Out of Car Dealership," shocks them with brand new Rolls-Royce, caught people's attention instantly. News outlets picked up the story, framing it as a testament to perseverance against prejudice. Ebony read through comments that poured in, many from people who'd faced similar discrimination. One user wrote, "As a black woman, I'm so proud to see this. We belong in these spaces too." Another said, "This is how you handle it with class. No shouting, no big scene, just let success speak for itself." There were, of course, some negative comments and trolls, but Ebony had dealt with worse in her life. She focused on the overwhelmingly positive response. She hoped that somewhere out there the manager from the Beverly Hills dealership was watching, realizing how badly he'd messed up. Sure enough, Ebony received an email the next morning from the dealership's general manager, someone higher up in the chain than the man who had insulted her. The subject line read, "An apology and a request." Ebony hesitated before opening it. The email was polite, full of corporate speak and carefully worded regret. The general manager apologized on behalf of the store, stated that the particular manager who'd dismissed her was under review, and expressed hope that Ebony would give them another chance to serve her. There was also a vague hint at some mutually beneficial partnership. Ebony stared at the screen. Part of her felt satisfaction her actions had prompted a response. Another part felt a pang of cynicism. They were only apologizing because she had money and influence, because the story had gone vol and damaged their reputation. Still, Ebony believed in offering second chances within reason. She typed out a measured reply. She acknowledged the apology, expressed disappointment in how she'd been treated, and offered a single piece of advice. Treat every customer like they might be your biggest sale of the year, because you never know who they are or what they can afford. She politely declined any partnership offers, but left room for future dialogue should they decide to truly improve their customer service practices. By the time she hit send, Ebony felt a sense of closure. The karmic backlash had landed, and while it wouldn't undo years of biased behaviors, at least it had sparked an awareness they could no longer ignore. Her video and the public's response had effectively forced the dealership to reckon with its prejudice. Now there was only one loose end to tie up surprising Maxwell. He was due home in 2 days, and Ebony had been busy planning the perfect reveal. She wanted to create a moment of pure joy. No cameras, no drama, just a heartfelt exchange between husband and wife. She arranged for the ghost to be delivered to their driveway at precisely the time Maxwell's car would pull up, so it'd be the first thing he saw. Satisfied that all was in order, Ebony took a moment to herself. She looked out over the city from her living room window, the lights twinkling like a promise. In her mind, she could already see Maxwell's wide-eyed grin, hear his amazed laughter. Every hardship, every scornful look, every moment of self-doubt. None of it mattered now. Ebony's story was more than a viral video or a fancy car. It was a testament to the power of self-belief, resilience, and a determination that no one could ever steal from her. The day Maxwell returned, Ebony woke up with butterflies dancing in her stomach. She spent the morning finalizing her surprise, making sure every detail was perfect. She had asked their trusted house manager to position the ghost in the driveway, angled just right to catch the sunlight. Ebony had also written Maxwell a heartfelt card, which she placed on the driver's seat. Afternoon approached, and Ebony stood on the balcony, scanning the road below for Maxwell's car. The house staff was equally excited, whispering amongst themselves about the big reveal. Finally, Ebony spotted a familiar black SUV turning onto their street. Her pulse quickened. She hurried downstairs, waiting just inside the front door. The SUV pulled up. The driver, Maxwell's longtime friend and security chief, stepped out and opened the passenger door. Maxwell emerged looking travel-weary, but smiling. He glanced at the driveway and froze. The ghost's glossy midnight blue exterior gleamed under the afternoon sun, its Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament catching the light. "What on earth?" he murmured, taking a step closer. Ebony emerged from the house, her heart pounding with delight. She'd never seen Maxwell so speechless. "Welcome home," Ebony said softly. Maxwell turned, his eyes shining with confusion and awe. "Ebony, is this—" she nodded. "Happy early anniversary, Max." For a moment he just stared at her, then back at the car, then at her again. Suddenly, a grin broke across his face, and he rushed forward, scooping Ebony into a tight embrace. "You are unbelievable," he whispered into her ear. "I can't believe you did this." Ebony laughed, tears of happiness pricking her eyes. "I wanted to show you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me, for us. You've always been there, supporting me, loving me. I just wanted to do something extraordinary for you." Maxwell set her down, looking like a kid on Christmas morning. "It's more than extraordinary," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's perfect." Ebony handed him the key in its polished box, along with the note she'd written. Maxwell glanced at the note, then carefully placed it in his jacket pocket, a promise to read it later. For now, he couldn't tear his eyes away from the ghost. "This is the car you were talking about, isn't it?" Maxwell finally asked, recalling the night Ebony had come home upset about the rude dealership. Ebony nodded, giving him a quick summary of everything that had happened since that day, minus the viral video portion which she'd let him discover in time. "I found a better place to do business," she said wryly, "and I made sure the folks at the Beverly Hills dealership understood their mistake." Maxwell arched an eyebrow. "Oh," she only smiled. "Let's just say it was the karmic payback they had coming." Maxwell took her hand and led her over to the car. He ran his fingers along the sleek lines of the hood, then opened the driver's door. Inside he found Ebony's card resting on the plush leather seat. He picked it up carefully, and though he didn't read it immediately, she could see the emotion in his eyes. He looked up, his voice trembling with gratitude. "Ebony, I can't describe what I'm feeling right now. You're amazing." "Thank you." Ebony felt her own emotions welling up. She stood on her tiptoes and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. "You deserve every bit of it, Max. You've always given me the world. This time, I wanted to give a piece of it back to you." They slid into the car together, Maxwell behind the wheel, Ebony in the passenger seat. He tapped the start button, and the engine purred to life, a soft, confident hum. As Maxwell eased the car down their winding driveway, Ebony felt her spirit soar with love. This was the man who had held her hand through every triumph and every heartbreak. He was her partner, her confidant, her best friend. As they drove off for a celebratory spin, Ebony felt the weight of all she'd accomplished. It wasn't just about vindicating herself at a snobby dealership. It was about love, resilience, and honoring the path she'd walked. She had proven once again that when the world tries to shut you out, you can drive right on through in style. That evening, Ebony and Maxwell returned from their joyride, the Ghost's headlights casting a soft glow over their driveway. Maxwell opened the heartfelt card Ebony had left on the driver's seat, and as he read her words, his eyes welled up. "Thank you," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "For everything." They sat together reflecting on their journey from college days to now. Ebony finally shared the full story of the viral video and how she'd turned humiliation into a moment of empowerment. Maxwell shook his head in disbelief. "You really are a force of nature." Ebony smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I just hope it inspires people to think twice about judging others." Just then, Maxwell's phone buzzed. It was from his PR team. Multiple luxury brands wanted to partner with Ebony's foundation. Ebony felt a surge of hope. If her story could draw support for underprivileged youth, the ordeal was worth it. Later in the quiet of their home, she called her father. "Daddy, I did it. I bought the car for Max." She heard the familiar creak of his recliner. "That's my girl. Your mama would be proud." She shared the full story, and her father chuckled with warmth. "You've always stood up for what's right with grace." After the call, Ebony stood before the photo of her mother. The journey had been painful, but it led to growth, love, and impact. Tomorrow life would return to normal. But for Ebony, the lesson would remain. Dignity and resilience can open doors that prejudice tries to close. A week after Ebony's video went viral, the buzz began to settle. News outlets moved on, but the impact lingered. Her foundation gained new donors, and she expanded tutoring programs and scholarships. What started as an act of justice had become a catalyst for real change. Meanwhile, the Beverly Hills dealership scrambled. Rumors swirled the regional director had visited, and the manager who humiliated Ebony was suspended pending an investigation. Ebony didn't rejoice in anyone's downfall, but hoped it led to accountability. One sunny afternoon, Ebony returned to Beverly Hills, this time with a group of teens from her mentorship program. Dressed in shirts reading "My Dreams Are Valid," they toured an art exhibit and then enjoyed ice cream. A student named Kiara spotted the Ghost parked nearby. "That's your car, Ms. Ebony." Ebony smiled. "It is, but remember, it's not about the car. It's about believing in yourself no matter what." Another teen asked how it felt to be told she didn't belong. Ebony answered honestly, "It hurt. But I turned that pain into power. I refused to let them define me. The teens listened, inspired. Ebony felt immense pride not for the car, but for the moment. The ghost had become more than a gift. It was a symbol of resilience and representation. That night at home, Maxwell ran a hand over the car and said softly, "This reminds me how much you believe in me. And I believe in you just as much." Ebony wrapped her arm around him. "Thank you. I believe in us." As the sun set, they stood together in quiet reflection. The ghost gleamed beside them, proof that no amount of prejudice could dim the light of purpose and love. And so Ebony Carter's story shows us the power of dignity, perseverance, and love. In the face of blatant discrimination, Ebony chose the high road, transforming a humiliating experience into a viral lesson for countless viewers around the world. Beyond the glossy exterior of a Rolls-Royce, she found renewed purpose in inspiring others, especially the youth in her foundation, to stand tall and dream big. In the end, it wasn't just about proving a point to one car dealership. It was about igniting a spark that reminded us all to keep believing in ourselves, no matter the odds. Thanks for joining us for this incredible story. If you found Ebony's journey inspiring, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories. Together, let's celebrate resilience, success, and the unwavering power of the human spirit.